Teddy, LPL caster, here today ahead of the 2023 World Finals. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, it's my honor, and hi, Lauren. Hi to all the audience who's watching this interview. This is Teddy from LPL, and it's my pleasure.
It is an honor having you today, especially because Weibo stands as the last hope for the LPL. Yeah. And I feel like they had a difficult year. A lot of ups and downs. A lot of people were doubting them, especially making it to the finals. How do you reflect on the journey they had?
Yeah, I would say Weibo is a very unique LPL team because through this whole year, they got a really hard schedule, and nobody was seeing Weibo coming to the finals before this day. And there was a meme in Chinese. There was memes in Chinese audience that would say like, what's the answer for the whole trip? But the meaning is Weibo got really lucky on the draw phase, and they were versus all the teams that except LPL and LCK teams. So people are really excited to see what they can do in the finals. And the 5 players from Weibo are really unique because all of them are really all of them are played long enough. They have a really long career, and they have a lot of fans. And I've been seeing that like not only in China, like globally, Weibo has most fans in the LPL. So I'm really excited looking for what they can do in the finals. And like just like what people said, a lot of people think T1 will smash Weibo today, but that's not for me because Weibo always make miracle.
You never know what will happen on finals and how teams show up on the day. I know that it's really important for the LPL and Chinese community to have Xiaohu in finals. Yeah. Thinking about him, he seems like he is a king without a crown. Yeah. What would it mean to you guys and for him to win finals today?
Xiaohu is one of the symbol of the LPL. When he started playing for a pro player, he is only 16, I think. Back in 2013, he's playing for GT, and he's only 16. And at that time, he is a really talented player. But through all this year, we have a memes too for Xiaohu. Xiaohu's Chinese name is likely it's meaning like tiger. Hu is tiger in Chinese, and people are calling him the Spring Tiger King or the like the king of the spring. Because every time Xiaohu will make a really good performance on MSI stage on the spring split. But Xiaohu always choke on the summer split or always choke on the worlds. They choked at 2018, they choked at 2019, and this year I think is the most important chance for Xiaohu's career.
Looking forward to the game, Teddy. Xie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the interview, and good luck on finals today.
Yeah, you too. Thank you for all the audience. I will see you in the finals.
What is Teddy doing? Teddy has this prediction curse on him. So every time he predicts a team in the LPL, they completely lose. He's completely ruined it for Weibo.
Then he was like, and he choked then he choked then he also choked then. He was like trying to undo it.
Yeah, he brought all of the memes to the table. There's also the one where like no one knows Weibo's true form because they haven't gone against like good enough opponents yet.
Not even Weibo know their true form.
Exactly.
But that is the thing. I actually got a chance to chat to Teddy, and he was saying that like after talking to the Weibo coaches, they haven't really had to show their hand at this Worlds either. So there is a lot of stuff that's still waiting in the wings. And even we got to look at like Weiwei bringing out the Bel'Veth last week, which was not something I expected. So I'm hoping we get something similar today.
Yeah, and I think the really interesting thing about Weibo is kind of what I was joking about with K-Droll, but also is true, right? Where I do feel like, well, no, this is a very messy team. We have not seen a clean like series from them yet outside of, and even in the NRG series, they made mistakes. So I think the big thing for me about Weibo is like, we still have not seen what the names on this roster are capable of.
And I think that's a great point. And also when everyone is saying T1 is looking so good, just last year, they got that big reality check, and they will not be underestimating Weibo, I hope, for their sakes and the other way around as we see the players arriving.
You're setting up a real high bar here, Emily, because we got to see some of the things they're capable of with TheShy turbo blasting Bin. If he's capable of more, then we're going to get back to actually Worlds Finals winning form from him, where he was literally the GOAT top laner.
Yeah, we'll see if that happens. Let's jump into a couple of the matchups. You could throw a rock and end on a fantastic, stellar matchup. So let's start into your favorite role, actually. The jump. Weiwei versus Oner.
Honestly, this is a really good story, too. We were talking with Emily so much about Oner Summer and then Oner's glow up. I think one of the most important things for T1 at this tournament has been that Oner is peaking at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, he was the one who bore the brunt of the most criticism. On T1, he looked really, really lost when FLICKR was not on the roster, when he was out due to injury. And then additionally, I can't stress enough how good T1's level 1s have been and how cognizant Oner has been of like what they have to do, what they need to do. We saw just in your telestrator with how well timed he was along with FLICKR, so that was really great to see.
And I think on the opposite side, Weiwei has been absolutely spectacular for them. This is a guy that sat on Suning for a while, training under SOFM, and now we're starting to see the magic that he can bring out on the world stage as well. It's been a long time coming for Weiwei to try and build up the caliber of player that he is expected to be, and taking over from Kalista was never going to be an easy feat, but it feels like Weiwei is now living up to his expectations, playing heavily around that bot side, but even last week, you know, starting to mix things up, playing towards TheShy as well.
Yeah, I mean, it does not look like an easy task to jungle for Weibo. And he has been up to the task. I actually started the entire tournament with a replay of him doing a 3-camp clear into diving bottom lane, and it's a strategy that they have used over and over. Now we're getting back into Oner greatest hits because both of these junglers have had such big plays, and this one right here was so critical. You know, the hitbox for an Ashe arrow is actually at the end of the arrow, so he walks into the tip, flashes over it, then gets the perfect rel engage, allows FLICKR to get the follow-up engage there on the Azir, and it is these critical moments here where these junglers are making the biggest plays on the biggest stage.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for me with Oner is that kill participation, right? Like, I cannot stress enough how important he's been to, again, not only the level 1s, but like the team fights we just saw. And now that he has so much more confidence, we're seeing it also reflected mechanically, which is something we'd previously seen from him in spring and in years past. But obviously this summer was such a huge struggle for him. It is great to see him back in form.
Yes, and we'll see how much time the jungler spent in the mid lane, because FLICKR and Xiaohu have been competing for roughly 10 years already. But tonight they're finally facing off on the biggest stage possible in our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz.
In League of Legends history, there is one player who stands head and shoulders above the competition. A player who can simply be referred to as God. When asked who the greatest League of Legends player of all time is, there is one name on the lips of every esports fan: FLICKR. He is nothing short of a legend. Taking him down makes titles feel that much more valuable, and watching him win reminds us that while form is temporary, FLICKR is forever. FLICKR playing at his peak is indistinguishable from art, and with him performing the best we have seen in years, the World Finals stage will be his canvas. It is rare for FLICKR to face a player that has been in the scene for almost as long as he has. But Xiaohu is an absolute legend in his own right. The LPL player with the most titles in history, including 3 MSI championships, has faced FLICKR before on the world stage. But he has never been able to take down the king on the road to the biggest trophy of them all. In his first World Finals, Xiaohu has a hunger that cannot be sated by anything other than the final missing piece of his incredible career: the World Championship. If Xiaohu can play at his best, even the unkillable Demon King himself may not be enough to stop him from finally getting his prize.
TP coming in, FLICKR looking to make the play against Ruler. Oner goes in, and again the combos are clean. The hostile takeover is damn well hostile.
This is the final featured matchup of 2023, presented by Mercedes-Benz, and the hopes of both their teams and their regions ride on the shoulders of these two legends.
Weibo, through all the doubt, through all the disbelief, will earn their place in the final.
Glory awaits one, and for the other, a return to the grind. No matter today's result, we're about to be treated to two of the greatest mid laners to ever touch the game, facing off on the world's biggest stage.
What a matchup, and as said there, FLICKR looking for his 4th, and Xiaohu, who's never been able to make that. And also in terms of kind of their pedigree, they are both amazing, but we have to say FLICKR has been playing out of his mind. Xiaohu, unfortunately, has not been that on form.
Yeah, I mean, FLICKR's legend is as long as League of Legends is itself. Even just looking at him versus Xiaohu, he has eliminated Xiaohu 3 times at Worlds in the knockout stage. you can't, he has so much of an advantage here. And the individual plays that he has actually pulled out have been thoughtful as well as mechanically executed super high level.
Has he been the best mid laner at Worlds?
The only argument I'd have against that is maybe Knight, but
Yeah.
it's hard to say. Like, he knocked out Knight. He made this play that sent T1 to the finals. It's hard to argue that it's not FLICKR who's #1.
Yeah, and I mean, I know it's become a little bit of a meme, but you can't stress enough how important his voice and comms is. Like, Kobe, you stressed that people should go back and look at comms from that team fight, just because the way he calls everything, the way that he sees the map is so crucial to T1's success.
And we got a little extra insight too when this year in summer he had a hand injury and T1 plummeted in the standings without FLICKR. Then when he returns, they immediately ascend back to the top. They get to Worlds Finals again. It is crazy how much fuel there is for this FLICKR fire.
Yeah, and then by contrast, obviously, FLICKR has actually eliminated Xiaohu several times at the World Championship. The only time that Xiaohu has been able to best him is at MSI, and that is huge because I think the big thing with Xiaohu, as you look at like his year here, obviously, Weibo struggled a little bit in summer. Kadro already covered that. Regionals, he was such a massive part to get this team here to the world stage, but on the world stage, he has not performed nearly as well as Weibo would want him to be performing, especially going into the championship.
You still have to give this guy credit though. Like, Xiaohu has never lost an international finals, and every single time he has won that international finals, it has been against an LCK team. Kingzone Dragon X, Damwon Kia, T1, and there's only been 3 teams ever in the history of competitive League of Legends that have managed to take down an LCK team in the finals. You're looking at EDG, Taipei Assassins, and RNG with Xiaohu. This guy has been instrumental to getting his teams here, and 2 of those teams that managed to take down LCK teams already have their Worlds title. It feels like Xiaohu now has to earn his one here today, and it could be the moment where he gets it.
Was that a
monologue?
No, mini log.
You're the master. You're the judge.
I don't know. Yeah, and it is, I mean, you have to give him his credit, and he hasn't been having the best tournaments, but it only matters what you do today. You know, he only has to show up is a big task at hand, but we have to give him the benefit of the doubt that this would be the day for him to do it in terms of all the experience about being on this stage, about shot calling a team under stressful situations.
And I think as well, when you look at like his road to get here, Xiaohu's kind of had to dismantle his legacy to a certain extent. He beat EDG with Uzi to make it to the world stage. That was the guy he won his first MSI with. He just watched Gala be beaten by T1 on the opposite side of the bracket, the guy he won his second MSI with, and then he went up against Bin in that semi-final, the guy he won his third MSI title with. He's had to take everything over the course of his years and look them dead in the eye and say, can I do this with a new team on my own? And now the final boss is in front of him with FLICKR.
Yeah, and some of those he was top lane, you know?
Yeah.
I think the other big thing about Xiaohu is when I talk about this Weibo team and I'm like, okay, we haven't seen their final form, it feels like we haven't seen all 5 of their players play at their best together. And Xiaohu is like one of the players I'm looking at and being like, he was insane in regionals to drag the team here, and then he's been a little bit lackluster. So if that happens,
just one day.
We know it can happen, so why not today? But as said already, we've talked about him a lot, and I think it's only just FLICKR, the longevity of his career as well. And I wanted to just pull up everyone he's played with and had success with, and I think this is such an important key when we look through the lens of the longevity of his career at his career, because FLICKR is a mid laner that had to adjust to different teammates, different junglers, different plays styles, different impact on the team, and that is one of the most impressive things, to stay stable across all those iterations.
Yeah, and I think the big thing about FLICKR is that as we look at all of his teammates over the years, he has had to evolve as a mid laner, right? Like initially he came on, he was this genius mid laner, immediately kills Ambition in his first game. It's massive. They go to Worlds, they win his first year. But starting in about like 2015, 2016 is really where you saw him have such an amazing understanding of the map, really start playing for his teammates. So as the game has evolved, so has FLICKR to stay at the top.
It is absolutely insane what you need to have that sort of longevity, and that's why everyone respects him so much. No other player has that.
Hasn't. Let's hear from the GOAT himself with Lore and Jisun after their semifinals victory over JDG in the Verizon Game Day interview.
When I talked to Keria, he was telling me about finals last year and how you got complacent maybe after winning semifinals. And I remember an interview of you saying that you learned so much through defeat especially. So what are the learnings that you're going to carry from the loss last year to get the title today?
매 패배로 인해서 이제 어떻게 경기를 준비하고 또 경기를 해야 더 좋은 경기력이 나올 수 있을까 그런 것들을 많이 또 배웠던 것 같고요. 그리고 아무래도 이제 4시드 팀이다 보니까 좀 작년에는 어느 정도 방심을 하는 경향도 조금은 있었을 수 있었다고 생각했는데 올해 들어서는 이제 그런 4시드 팀일수록 좀 더 기세를 많이 타고 또 선발전부터 올라오는 팀이다 보니까 절대 방심하지 않고 준비를 할 것 같습니다.
So after every defeat, I learned so much about how to plan for the game and also how to play the game. So I got so much learning from the previous experiences. And also last year, to be completely honest, we were going up against the 4th seeded team of the LCK. Maybe we kind of was a little too feeling comfortable or maybe even confident. But with that experience, I kind of realized that actually because they're the 4th seeded teams, they made it all the way from the regional qualifiers, which means they're on a great momentum. So I think because we got so much learning from last year, this year will be different.
This year will be different also because even though this is T1's 6th final, this is your first time playing finals in Korea, FLICKR. How important is this one for you and how will you make it count?
네, 한국에서 경기를 하다 보니까 아무래도 많은 팬분들이 특히나 한국 팬분들이 더 관심 있게 지켜보실 것 같고 그만큼 이제 저로서는 그 팬분들께 더 즐거움을 드리고 영감을 드리는 대회가 되기 때문에 그만큼 중요하긴 하지만 개인적으로 이제 어디서 경기를 하는가가 저에게 있어서는 그다지 중요하지 않고 저는 이제 매 경기 최선을 다하는 게 목표입니다.
Because it's in Korea, I know there are so many fans, especially Korean fans, paying attention to this matchup, and also it's gonna be a great inspiration for them. But for myself, I want to say where the game is being played is not that big of a deal. You know, I just want to focus on my play and do my best.
Well, looking forward to these finals and wishing T1 best of luck. 인터뷰 감사합니다. Jisun, thank you so much, and Shox, back to you.
Thank you so much, Lauren Jisun from the past. Awesome. Now they're in luck, all the Korean fans, because in the top lane, 2 Korean top laners, Kobe.
2 Gigachads, I would say, for sure in the top lane. And if we're looking at miracles, possible miracles for Weibo, Teddy said that's what they need to win this series. I'm looking at TheShy. He has shown already dumpstering Bin in 2 of their games versus BLG. I'm not going to say 1v9 because that's a bit hyperbolic, but it's not that close. TheShy was the biggest carry factor in 2 of those games. Huge importance of the Rumble pick as well as the Graves counter pick into the Aatrox. And he had massive numbers, huge CS and damage differences here. And that's against Bin. This is no slouch. This is who people are touting as the very best top laner in the world. So masterful stuff from him. On the other side, from Zeus, he had advantages over 369 in almost every single game that they also played. And while he didn't have the flexibility shown in Champion Pool, he played mostly Aatrox and then had the one YONE counter pick, he also still had a massive influence on this game in a world where people are always memeing on top lane as not having this big impact and being an island. These 2 top laners that have made it to this stage have certainly had the impact.
Yeah, this top lane matchup is going to be so much fun. And for Zeus, I think, obviously, it's kind of a return to form for him. But also, he was able to get his revenge against 369, right? Because last year, when these 2 teams faced each other at Worlds, I felt like people were really looking at 369 being like, you know, he's so much better. Even though T1 won, he got his revenge this time. And he's been such the fact that he's been able to be so stable for T1, I think has been so key to their success.
But he has to show up today.
It's true.
Finals, he has to, okay. Stay strong in the finals.
Stay sharp. So let's talk about the champion pools then, as we will be. We're moving closer to champ select. It's still ways away. Talk to me about the champ pool for Zeus then.
I mean, they share a lot of champions.
They do.
Both these top laners have played a whole bunch, but Zeus actually has 2 that TheShy has never played in his career. we're looking back at career-long stats. Now, if you played against Zach in solo queue, you know that actually the Conqueror top Zach does a lot of unexpected damage. And we saw the power of the YONE counter pick specifically into the Aatrox, which has become very prevalent in the current meta. So these are two tools that Zeus has shown that TheShy hasn't shown yet.
Oh, that's so cute, these unique champions.
Isn't it?
But
I
look
made it
at
myself.
TheShy.
The
Look
Shy
at
is
his
unique champion pool right over here. This man is willing to slam
What's that
anything.
Anivia doing?
Yeah, this man is willing to slam anything in top lane if he thinks it's going to be a good counter pick. So that's where you see stuff like the Anivia, the Kalista and Vayne top. You can kind of blame TheShy for proliferating those in top lane. The Victor top, the Viego. I think the thing I really want to stress about TheShy, not only is he super, super aggressive in a lot of these matchups, as people know his playstyle to be, but he is more than willing to try something incredibly off the wall. We just saw something unexpected in the Graves, whose pushing power transformed
wanna
that
cross
win
off the
for
Quinn.
them. Yeah, I mean, we saw
Cross
the
that Quinn off there.
That wasn't that great.
I'll do that.
Yeah,
But Dogda, do you want
bring
to
up
talk
the
about the
shared,
shared pools? Yeah.
Because this is absolutely insane. The fact that for Zeus, who hasn't played anywhere near as long as TheShy, to have pulled out so many of these different picks, but also been able to perform in a plethora of different styles. I mean, you can see the things like the Tryndamere, the Camille's, the Fioras, these big split pushers that could be the carries, but also you got the Malphites, the Orns. They kind of are just a beast on so many different styles, and what's made them so good for so long.
Yeah, okay. Zeus is about quality of picks, not quantity, okay?
It's not about the size of the pool, it's what you do with it. Okay, I got you.
Wow.
But speaking of TheShy, ahead of his return to the World's Finals, TheShy joined Lore and Jayce after their victory over BLG in the Verizon Game Day interview.
This is what makes the run extra special for Weibo, the fact that you kept on defying expectations. I feel like a few people, except Casual, maybe, believed in you coming here at Worlds. What is the biggest improvement for the team, you would say?
우선 사실 저희 팀적으로 소통이 원활히 이루어지는 팀이 아니었다고 생각해요. 그래서 소통 부분에서 정말 한 팀 같지 않나라는 생각이 들 정도로 꽤 많이 성장한 것 같고요. 다른 팀원들은 이제 아마 스스로가 알 거고, 저 개인적인 경우에는 좀 리스크 지는 플레이에 대한 리턴 값에 대한 명확한 결론을 알게 된 것 같아요. 그래서 확실한 결과값이 있을 때만 리스크를 지기로 했고, 아니었을 때는 좀 더 안정적인 플레이 추구하는 식으로 하다 보니까 좋은 결과가 온 것 같습니다.
First of all, I want to say our communication has become a lot cleaner. Early this year, I was like, our communication is not clean at all. It's so messy. But I think right now, we are now all on the same page. I think all the other players are believing so as well. And for myself personally, I think I finally able to find a conclusion of perfect calculation of risk taking place. So for example, I can calculate everything and see if it's actually worth the play, I go for it. But if not, if it's a risky play without any like promising outcome, I would not make that play.
You have been so confident, TheShy, and I think this confidence shows on stage, and it's an amazing story for you, especially 5 years ago. You were here in Keria winning your first World Championship. You will be playing finals again for another title. How much of a different player are you compared to back then?
우선 5년 전에 같은 결승에 올라왔었는데 5년 전에 저는 그냥 게임하는 어린아이였다고 생각합니다. 네, 지금은 좀 더 많은 성장을 했고 인격적으로 많은 성장을 하다 보니까 이제 소통과 플레이적 면에서도 좀 더 특별함을 보여줄 수 있는 것 같아요. 좀 더 냉정한 판단을 하게 되는 것 같고 그런 부분이 좀 바뀐 것 같습니다. 네.
5 years ago, I was just a boy playing video games, but now I think I grew up so much as a person. So I think my decision making and also my play has become a lot more kind of mature. So I think I'm really happy with how much I improved so far. And I want to say, like right now, I have learned so much about making plays and making decisions.
The stars are aligned for Weibo. Last year, DRX LCK 4th seed was winning Worlds, defying all expectations. This year, LPL 4th seed Weibo made it as well to finals, defying expectation with you as a captain. Can history repeat itself?
뭐 이런 미신이잖아요, 사실 그죠? 네, 미신은 정말 좋은 것 같아요. 저희 팀이 미신에서 우승하라고 하고 있는데 뭐 제가 말할 말이 뭐 있겠나요? 그냥 미소 짓게 만드는 말인 것 같아요, 그냥. 네.
I mean, it's a superstition, right? And I like that, you know? Why would you like reject that? It's all about us winning worlds, so it just makes me wear a big smile on my face. I'm really happy about it.
I love the script and Weibo's story and your story as well, TheShy. 감사합니다. And thank you. Good luck on the finals as well. And Jason, thank you so much for the translation.
It's going to be so interesting to see if the top laners with all their might can kind of skew the expectations for where the heavy points of this matchup are going to lie, because as we've seen from the bracket stage so far, bot lane has been so incredibly important and pivotal, not in the least when you have someone like Gumayusi up versus Light.
Yeah, I mean, both these AD carries have been beasts for their teams, but bottom lane is also critical because of dragon stacking, and we've seen especially T1 have been magnificent at that. Let's start with Guma though. This guy has been absolutely insane. And I want to point out specifically the Varus pick, because stats will tell you a story, but Guma to me has had 2 of the most Giga Chad plays at the entire tournament. Number 1, and these are not versus Slapshes, by the way. Number 1, the Varus at the tower versus Aphelios trying to get the 1v1. Boom, 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 shoots Gala down, stands his ground, wins that duel, and then the 1 versus Ruler and 369 where he flashes both the Q from the Zeri and the Q from the Aatrox, and he still wins it is absolutely insane, like scripting level stuff so far from him.
I need that
Yeah,
about Light too.
I do think on the opposite side though, Light has been very underrated his entire LPL career, because you're looking at a guy who comes from the likes of the Uzis, the Rulers, the Viper when he was there, like so many incredible Jackie Loves, the incredible AD carries that are in this region make it hard to stand out. But Light is slowly but surely back from LNG, growing now where he was with Iwandi onto this roster, has becoming and making his name like Gala did at these international events to become an insane AD carry that now he'll get to prove if he can take down Gumayusi.
And it's a critical part of their strategy that we've seen. They send Weiwei, they send resources, so much stuff into Light to get him to carry.
They do, and for more on Gumayusi, we have a World's Finals edition of Draw My Life with Emily Rand.
Draw my LCK life. Gumayusi. World's Finals Edition. Woo! Lee Gumayusi Min Hyung first caught the public's attention when his Seoul City KEG team actually upset Hanwha Life Esports at the 2018 Kespa Cup. This roster also included Doran, Elim, Plex, and Pop. Gumayusi is actually the 6th of 7 total siblings, which also include former SK Telecom T1 Terran, StarCraft 2 player Innovation. In middle school, when Guma told his father that he wanted to go pro, his father said that he had to reach Challenger by the end of middle school, and he hit it in the 8th grade. In LCK Spring 2022, Gumayusi had 219 kills, which is the most for any LCK player in a split, and he beat Ruler's previous record of 209 kills. Alongside his laning partner Keria, Gumayusi is an instrumental part of T1's ability to dictate the global meta, especially regarding bot lane 2v2s. And also, like his T1 teammates, Gumayusi has been very outspoken about how much the DRX defeat really humbled them and has fueled their desire to win. And I stress that people should go watch the T1 documentary on Gumayusi. It's really, really good. It's like 2 hours long, but I highly recommend it. A lot of these facts came from there. And then, yeah, I just can't stress enough, like you talked about the Varus, 2v2s are so important, and Guma has been such an instrumental part of this T1 roster for the past few years.
And the sentiment that we saw in that documentary is the sentiment that runs across all of this T1, which we will touch on later as well. But the fact that they have been so good, but just not good enough to win those finals, and how much regret they had. That shot of Keria breaking down into tears and FLICKR looking over, I will never forget it, and they won't either, I don't think. But I'm glad you mentioned it about the bot lane in general. We need to talk about support, about the support picks in general, how they've evolved over this tournament, and what we expect today.
All right, I prepared something awesome. So let's talk about the evolution of the support meta and how much Keria has been at the forefront of it, because this has been so cool to watch across the entire tournament. Keria being the first player to bring out the Renata against Team Liquid. Sorry, Kobe, there are going to be some LCS defeats in here.
We forced them out.
Ignar bringing out the Tom Kench, and then Keria bringing out the Bard against C9. This Bard pick has actually become huge and has been something he has further iterated on in their more recent series. As you can see him kind of helping destroy C9 with it. Kellen bringing out the Lux, which is the Caitlyn Lux lane, and then Trimby bringing out Milio against Weibo Gaming, which is super important because then Crisp on Weibo actually picked it up as that R5 counter pick that we talked about against the Renata. Then T1, Keria again, flexing Senna into the bot to subvert the Blitzcrank pick, and then bringing out the Ashe. When we talk about T1 doing these bot lane 2v2s, it is double 80 carry that we see them doing a lot, and this iterated in the Weibo BLG series, where both of these teams were really trying out bot lanes like the Kalista and Caitlyn that you see here, and the Varus Ashe for Weibo on the other side. And then once again, I already brought this up, but Bard was such a massive pick for Keria and T1 in the JDG series. And again, like, I wanted to kind of map this out just to show how at every step Keria has kind of been there, and this is one of the reasons why T1 is here in this final, because they are able to influence the meta so much. They're basically dragging it back to spring when they were the best team in the
They're
world.
like, come on.
Yeah, and also how Weibo has reacted, right? Because Crisp has been one of the supports to take a look over and be like, I'm going to take that for me.
It does make you wonder how we start off with Alistair at the start of this tournament,
how did
though.
that happen?
And I think it kind of showed there where Keria in that clip was able to take down Missing on the Alistair. It felt like the JDG weren't really able to contest the 2v2 bot lane for T1, and now it's going to be a big moment here to see if Light and Crisp can try and respond. I do think we're starting to move into a meta that favors Crisp a little bit more. Like when you think back to when he won his World Championship, it was things like the Thresh, the Tam Kench, he can play back while still being a playmaker. Doesn't feel like he wants to be on the Nautiluses, so this could actually work out a little bit better for Weibo.
And how much, Kobe, is this the key to a possible victory for Weibo? The fact that you do, wow, it's a party. You have to get it under control in the bot lane, or you have to throw a wrench in the whole toolbox to make sure that you're on the best foot.
It certainly is the key to my excitement, because I am most excited for new picks. And Gumayusi, in his interview after their game, said, we have so many more crazy picks to pull out that we haven't even shown yet on stage, and he can play anything with Keria. It just makes me so excited. I think it would also be really funny if we went full circle and we came all the way back. Now we have all these range supports to people picking Blitzcrank like Draven lanes and going for kill lanes again.
Keria's prepared for that, though, because he's just going to flex Senna support.
I think that Keria might be the one doing it, with Chris playing so many of these range supports, but very excited to see it.
Oh, we're so happy, so excited about the drafts. I think there's such a big opportunity for both sides. And also, in terms of what T1 does with their drafts, in terms of when they get into the game, right, Emily? The level ones that have been at blistering pace, running over the enemies at times.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing I would want to stress about T1 level 1s as we look at a few of them is that whatever composition they have, they set up so well for it, right? So this is them really taking advantage of the champions that they have here, and doing this invade to also get bot side pressure for the Neela and Senna. And I think at every single step, you can see T1 being so thoughtful about how they want to set up the game, not only from draft, but from level 1.
And it gives them the opportunity to try and punish the fact that oftentimes they do have these double 80 carries. Incredibly impressive when you go for the level 1s, means you can set up a ton of vision, and it's given a ton of control to Oner as well, specifically, who, I mean, we saw him get the 1v1 kill against Tarzan off the back of these level 1s. You see him getting control here once again. There's so many opportunities where T1 are able to take these advantages and punish the rest of the game, especially when you look towards, hey, we now get the vision for the early push to set up for early dragons, to then hit the level 6 in the support, to get the early Rift Heralds. It's this knock-on effect that comes from these great level 1 plays that T1 have been setting up.
Yeah, it's so important, in fact, that you see top laners even coming down for the level 1 invades, because this area of the map is such a domino effect. And we had our first ARAM moment of Worlds there, and T1 actually getting a pretty big advantage out of that one. But because they've done it so much already, Weibo are studying this. Weibo are crafting their counters to the level 1 invades, to the draft possibilities and this craziness from T1. So I'm almost even more excited to see what are going to be those Weibo attempted answers, because we've already seen if there's so much attention in bottom lane, then that frees up TheShy to pick all these counter picks in top top side, whether they work or not.
Yeah, maybe try the Bel'Veth game 1, see what that
Always good for a
dominoes
level
falls.
1 invade.
Actually, you added the whether they work or not.
Yeah, we'll see. I do want to open up kind of the perspective just a little bit as we move closer to the opening ceremony and to game 1. And let's reset a little bit. We're all here today to see T1 versus Weibo play and just to look at T1 making it to the finals. The context of how many times that they have won it before, 3, the fact that they have another chance, the fact that they have that chance in this arena, which is already full, by the way. There is just so much history in this moment, Emily.
Yeah, and obviously, like we were joking about how FLICKR is inevitable, but so is T1 against the LPL. Like when you are talking about Korean League of Legends esports, T1, SK Telecom T1, SK Telecom T1K, whatever you want to call them, has been Korea's team, right? This is the most popular team. I've been walking around Seoul and you just see people wearing T1 gear randomly. I can't stress enough again what this organization means to South Korean esports, and then also how much FLICKR means as, you know, not only the figurehead of this team, but League of Legends as a whole.
And I think for this roster in general as well, I mean, trying to get that win would mean so much. This is potentially the last time that we get to see this roster together. We've already seen T1 members talk about that. And for a team that has been so close so often, it feels like they just need that one title to push them into the contention of, was this one of the best teams we've ever seen across League of Legends history?
Honestly, yeah, I think they are right there because already this exact T1 roster that we're going to see perform today has played the most international games together because they've made so many international tournaments and gone so deep in them. Yet, they lost 5 finals in a row so far, so they're looking to break the streak just in time to get that cup.
I mean, they've only won 1 out of their last 7 finals, which is heartbreaking for T1.
It is. It's just so crazy to see, and it is because you want to call them that great team, one of the best teams we've seen in the last 2 years, but it's a hurdle, and I think that is the million-dollar question today. Will they be able to overcome it? From the way they have risen up in this World Championship, you are inclined to say yes, but crazier things have happened in a World Finals, Dagda.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it last year with DRX, right? And you even hear T1 talking about how they felt like they were overconfident and underprepared for what DRX was going to bring to the table. But you can see across the board there how many of these finals have just been absolute heartbreaks for them. And it's been T1 looking on from the shadows, hoping that maybe just finally they can get that win.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for T1, again, is you hear how cognizant their players are of how confident they did get against DRX, right? And then additionally, if we look at how the meta has evolved, it's been T1 who's been at the forefront of that.
It has been. We see this moment that broke our hearts last year because DRX was able to do it. And I think that is why we also have to check our biases going into today, because in a World Final, it's all about how you play on this day. Weibo could very well step into those footsteps of DRX.
The similarities are eerie between these two teams. I thought this was an amazing tweet by Renata talking about how they both finished 4th in spring, then 6th in summer, and make air as the 4th seed for their team, and then also have the same opponent, the exact same team, and train together is just crazy here. It's like they're trying to recraft the same story. These writers are getting lazy.
Like someone had their birthday, they had a cake, they're channeling it.
And also, look, a lot of people are talking about T1, the meta starting to shift into their favor, but you look at when TheShy won his World Championship, it was the Aatrox, it was the carry top laners that he could perform on, and we're getting to see that shift into it again today. Crisp as well, looking to move in towards, hey, I don't want to be the big engage tool, but I'll make insane plays on things that can play from afar, like the Thresh we got Renata now. It's things that can actually keep your AD carry safe, and I think this is where we also have to say, look, this is a moment where Weibo, it also, in the same vein, is moving across to favoring them in the same way it's favoring T1.
Yes, I mean, we are here in Korea, so we're looking through that lens, but we heard it from Teddy as well. The hope of the LPL is on Weibo's shoulders. We'll see how it turns out, and I would also like to see who our fans rather, think are going to win today and hoist the Summoners Cup in our MasterCard fan predictions. You can, of course, well, not anymore. This was your last chance. So thank you all for participating at MasterCard GG on X throughout the tournament.
We're doing ours?
Ooh. Wait, T1 85.7%. At least it's not 100.
I thought it would be higher too.
Honestly, yeah. It's the most popular team in the world. I love underdogs though.
Yeah, me too, but of course, T1 reigning supreme on X. I also want to thank everyone for tuning in from around the globe. We're going to take a look in just a second at all the fans at the YouTube gaming viewing parties. One of them is right here in Seoul. There's also one in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, and it's just cool to see everyone turning up for what is such a historical moment for League of Legends.
I mean, this is absolutely insane. You can see the amount of people that have turned out here today. If you can't, obviously you can't see the stadium at the moment, but this is packed. And I think it speaks volumes to not only the fact that Weibo is incredibly popular in LPL, but also how popular T1 is here in the LCK. Everyone and their mother is trying to get a ticket to this event, and it is insane.
Yeah. Yes. Predictions then. I know it's the biggest one.
Where are you
it's
gonna start?
The last one. Where am I going? Well, I've seen hers already.
All right.
So Emily, you can go first.
All right, and should I like hide? Because I've been trying to draw this out.
You want more
you don't
time?
Know what
Yeah, you can get more time.
You don't know what the score prediction is, though.
No.
Okay. All right. So, we are in Korea.
Yes.
I have watched this T1 team come so close to taking it for 2 years now. I saw the first iteration of this roster at 2021, where they made it further than people expected at that Worlds. Zeus comes in 2022. Are they the best team? Worlds seem to be theirs. They lost to the DRX like miracle story. I know Caster Jun said this earlier, but he was saying the narrative of this story he thinks is somehow even better than Def's narrative, with FLICKR coming back from injury, leading this team. I'm going T1 3-0.
T1 3-0. I love it that it's a firm vote of confidence from Emily for T1. Who wants to go next?
I mean, I'm happy to go next. I think that it only takes one day to write history, and the opportunity is here today for both these squads. But I'm going to go 3-2 Weibo Gaming. I think when I look at Weibo, the talent and the possibilities that are on this squad is absolutely insane. The fact that you have the meta starting to shift up towards TheShy, where he has an opportunity to play his best. Crisp also having a renaissance now that we've had that meta shift in towards these ranged supports is working well for him. And look, I know that Xiaohu has had his struggles, but whenever the LPL has been up against the LCK and they've needed a team to do it, it has been Xiaohu at the forefront leading that squad to victory. He has always beaten the LCK to get his titles. He has never lost an international finals against the LCK, and this today is when he finally gets his world title.
He's convincing me.
I'm getting so hyped up, but you know why he never lost an international finals versus LCK? It's because FLICKR eliminated him already from the tournament.
He beat MSI. He won MSI against him.
Honestly,
Kobe's just going to ignore that.
I love underdogs. I predicted a lot of underdogs this tournament, and they have all paid me back. They have all won. But I just think after last year especially, and how much work T1 have put into overcoming this finals curse and working on their mental game, working on the extra pressures that come along with playing in a finals, I think that this is their time. They're going to complete the story with this roster and finally get that championship.
I'm happy that even though you predict the T1 win, you at least give us 4 games.
Yeah.
We have a very good desk in terms of the predictions for today. How can you not? We are a little bit away from the opening ceremony. We've got a little bit more time, and I'm actually glad because we had to race through a lot because of just how big this matchup is. So you can choose where we go next. What?
I mean, for me, it's draft, right? Because we're going to be moving in towards this eventually. But I think this is where it's going to become incredibly interesting. Because I think when you look towards red side, there's a couple of big bans that you have to try and go towards. The Kalista is a massive one. The Nico is a massive one. That Rumble is also the third one. So it feels like your red side is fairly locked in, at least for game 1 for T1. But the big curiosity for me is what happens with Weibo coming into this. Because I feel like if you end up banning something like the Orianne on blue side, which we don't get to see a huge amount of the time, you open up the opportunity for Xiaohu to take the Azir And then you threaten what has been FLICKR's champion pool. He's only played 3 picks so far. Now, we know FLICKR has literally got a million and one different things, right? But I think it is trying to put that pressure onto them and seeing if you can get that comfort for Xiaohu is going to be massive.
Yeah, you make the caveat, and you have to, but we know the context of FLICKR and his injury, unfortunately, was taking out, had to come back in, and maybe the champion pool isn't as wide as it once was. Of course, an Akali is something that he's had on his solo queue account as well, but it's all about what will be the best here. And will it even be the mission to attack that mid lane, you think, Kobe, in the draft?
I think that FLICKR is one of the best with dealing with pressure in mid lane, you know, if they do decide to attack it. And he has been playing, I feel like, better than he has in years after coming back from the injury. Honestly, the rehab that he did during the injury and taking some time away from League of Legends might have actually been a godsend for this team because it has put them on the warpath here to the finals.
And I love that we got those voice comms from the game that you also broke down, because maybe people think it's all about that split second, and it is, but it is also about everything else. It is about calling that play 3 minutes before it happens, maybe. I'm overreacting just a little bit. All the team being on the same page and everything that has to be perfect on a day like this.
And that's why it actually frustrates me when I hear people saying, oh, well, the reason T1 are doing good is because the meta shifted in their favor. You don't beat a team like JDG in team fights if it's just a meta shift.
That's true.
These guys have played so incredibly well together. It felt like Oner and FLICKR had one single mind every single team fight that they went into because they were so in sync. It felt like they understood how to set up better, how to prepare the map better. And even looking at their initial series against Gen G in Worlds, I was like, do you know what? This team still doesn't really have it. I'm not going to be able to give it to them. But after watching them against JDG and the understanding they had about every way to approach the map, approach the fights, approach the objectives, this is T1 stepping up massively while also hitting that meta shift that is perfect for them.
And I also feel like if people are trying to use meta shift as like a detractor saying it was handed to them, they're the ones shifting the meta. They're the ones getting out there with Keria and Guma and playing all this stuff. And with Zeus, so many DPS top laners here. So I feel like they have done the work to move it into their own favor. They're the ones creating their own meta.
Yeah, and if you look at both of these teams, I think it's the thoughtfulness from T1 that actually, like, obviously I'm going T1 3-0 as a vote of confidence in terms of which of these teams I think is going to look better on the day. But in terms of the way they see the game, the fact that they took the meta themselves and changed it, and I think we've seen inklings of that from Weibo iterating on it. But in Weibo's games, and again, this is why it would be so cool if what you want to happen happens, right?
Yeah.
Because that is an amazing story in and of itself. Like this team, this Weibo team coming together, finally all finding it on the same day. Because the thing I think I've been the most critical of Weibo about for the individual players is that it seems like all 5 individuals have not had a brilliant day together, right? Like one of them is great, and then another one looks like they have the flu. And and if they can all do it together as 5, then that changes completely what the series is going to look like.
And I mean, Xiaohu said that he would burn himself for these finals. He has been one of the players that has been getting the most flame.
Yeah.
How crazy would it be for Weibo to actually come out with a huge upset here over T1 with him playing exceptionally, with Crisp, who's been memed on for hook champions, to then start countering some of these range ones and pick and blitz and go for kill lanes. Like, that would be the craziest type of scenario. This is the team to pull out something like that.
And that's the thing, like Xiaohu was the guy who got them here. This was the guy who stepped up massively for them summer. When it wasn't even like, I don't even feel like it's a day, it's individual games where people can just completely go back and forth. But Xiaohu has been the rock for this team, and I feel like that title has kind of shifted to Weiwei in a certain extent at this stage, where he's now become the stalwart player to be, hey, I will make sure that I'm getting bot lane into a position where they can carry, where I can set up then for TheShy and top side as well. And I think this is where the moment has to come back to, can Xiaohu do it? This is the guy that time and time again has stepped up for the LPL. He has been the person that's aimed to get the MSI titles, and it feels like nearly the pressure of trying to get that first Worlds has kind of gotten to him, but now he's surpassed where he was before. Highest ever win was that semi-finals before. this is now where if you can just have that one day to perform, bring back that magic from summer, that's where we could see Weibo really go up against T1 here today.
Yeah, we know how brutal the fans have been to him specifically. We've seen snippets of it and just
Teddy.
the pressure. Teddy just now. The pressure all of these players are under, and maybe Keria as well, right? We talk so much about how he's been at the forefront of this meta, how you can't ban him out, and he might have the R5 actually from game one because Weibo selected to go on the blue side, and the emotional investment of how heartbreaking, how gut-wrenching it was for him to lose last year.
It's 100%. Like, he has been so incredible for T1, but I think what's been even more impressive is, like, against JDG, everyone expected them to go, oh, we'll go War 5 support. He just picked his first one on, like, War 3 and was like, I don't care, I'm just gonna smash you. And he looked absolutely insane. The Bard has been instrumental. The double AD carry bot lane has been absolutely nuts. And the fact that he's been able to completely reshape what is considered to be a top support in this meta at Worlds is absurd when you look at how good he is.
And to piggyback on something you
서울, 코리아, 그리고 전 세계 팬 여러분, 이제 결승 달릴 준비 하셔야죠. Are you ready for the finals? One more time. Are you ready? Yes! e스포츠의 종주국이라 할 수 있는 대한민국에서 전 세계 최고의 팀들이 모여 바로 이 수완사컵에 자신들의 이름을 새기고 역사의 한 획을 긋기 위해서 무려 6주간 치열한 대결을 펼쳤습니다. 상파울루에서 LA, 베를린에서 상하이까지 전 세계 22개 팀들이 멋진 대결을 펼쳤고 이제 단 2팀만이 남았습니다. 웨이보 게이밍! 그리고 T1! 이 두 팀들은 자신의 가치를 증명했고 하지만 월드 챔피언의 자리는 단 하나. 오늘 그 자리를 가리는 대결을 시작합니다. 선수를 소개합니다. 큰 박수로 맞아주시기 바랍니다. 먼저 웨이보 게이밍의 탑라이너 슈퍼 캐리의 대명사, 그리고 이에 맞서는 T1의 탑라이너 국대타 T1의 아시안게임 금메달리스트 TheShy 제우스. 웨이보 게이밍의 정글러, 날카로운 갱킹의 대가. 그에 맞서는 선수는 이번 월즈 폼 정말 미쳤다. 자, 바로 웨이웨이와 오너입니다. 웨이보 게이밍의 바텀 라이너, 압도적 화력을 뽐내는 그저 빛. 이에 맞서는 선수는 월즈가 체질, 전어보다 더 가을이 제철인 T1의 하드캐리, 바로 라이트와 구마유시. 자, 이제 서포터를 소개합니다. 월드 챔피언의 기억을 되살리자 2019 월드 우승 서포터, 그리고 이에 맞서는 선수는 정말 수완사컵이 간절합니다. 갓지 그 자체가 되고 싶은 역전괴, 바로 크리스피와 캐리아입니다. 끝으로 두 포지션에서 국제적 우승 기록을 세운 전설의 웨이보 게이밍의 미드라이너. 그의 상대는 모든 길은 나를 통해서야만 갈 수 있다. 리빙 레전드 언킬러블 데몬 킹 샤오후와 페이커입니다. 자, 이제 이 10명의 선수들은 최후의 결전만을 남겨두고 있습니다. 그리고 소환사 컵까지는 이제 단 한 걸음만 남았을 뿐입니다. Let the finals begin. 2019 LOL 월드 챔피언십 웨이보 게이밍 대 T1의 대망의 결승전을 함께 해주시는 많은 분들의 뜨거운 환호 함성과 함께 시작하겠습니다.
어느덧 가을의 끝이 다가왔습니다. 이무기. 용이 되기 위해 1000년 동안 기다려온 뱀과 용 사이의 동물을 이무기라 부릅니다. 오랜 수련 후 여의주를 얻어야만 비로소 승천한다고 하죠. 어떻게 보면 선수들의 여정을 말하는 것 같습니다.
저는 어렸을 때부터 게임을 워낙 좋아했어서 되게 많은 게임들을 했었는데 리그 오브 레전드가 이제 한국에 출시된다는 소식을 듣고 그때부터 시작했던 것 같습니다.
어렸을 때 사촌 형이 리그 오브 레전드를 해서 같이 해봤던 것 같아요.
선수로 처음 데뷔를 하게 되었을 때 되게 설렜고 기다려왔던 기회가 와가지고 살면서 좀 가장 기뻤던 순간이었던 것 같습니다.
중국에 스카우트 J가 들어왔어요. 라이즈에 갔는데 루키 선수가 있었어요. 근데 제가 좋아하는 선수였어요. 근데 같은 팀을 할 수 있는 기회가 있어서 한번 해보자, 재밌겠다라는 생각으로 한 것 같습니다.
夺冠以后，就是自己本身就跟其他队伍的选手比起来，可能那个时候自己是没有进步的。
那这次的世界赛，大家对他的一个期望，我相信一定不低。
작년 월드 경기가 끝났을 때 헤이셋을 벗은 순간부터는 뭔가 온몸이 통제가 안 되더라고요. 이제 이런 좋은 기회도 놓친 내가 다음에 이런 기회를 또 잡고 우승을 할 수 있을까라는 생각이 많이 들었던 것 같아서 그게 많이 분하고 힘들었던 것 같습니다.
每一场比赛失利后的感受，更多还是自己很多方面没有做好吧。可能这个时候会想着下一场比赛会做，但下一场比赛还是会有做不好的时候。这个时间点可能就会质疑自己。
아무리 힘들어도 그들은 포기하지 않았습니다. 꿈이 있기 때문이지요.
Weibo, through all the doubt, through all the disbelief, earned their place.
10년의 기간 처음 롤을 시작했을 땐 미래에 대해 생각하기엔 너무 어렸던 것 같습니다.
그들의 오랜 노력에 끝자락이 보입니다. T1 대 웨이보.
凛冬将至，是时候捧起全球总决赛奖杯了。
첫 번째 우승은 승리가 어떤 의미인지 제대로 이해할 만큼 성숙하지 못했던 것 같습니다. 두 번째 우승은 단 하나도 놓치지 않고 즐기겠습니다.
세 번째 우승은 저 자신을 위한 거였습니다. 네 번째 우승은 우리 팀을 위한 것입니다.
Once you play God, once you play God, they're gonna crumble one by one. Then we go right to the top. The day my kingdom come, baby, we're haters are silenced.
단 한 팀만이 영광을 차지할 수 있습니다. 단 한 팀만이 전설이 됩니다.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the caster desk for the World Final 2023. First, I want to say thank you to Caster John for the incredible introduction, as well as MasterCard and everyone behind. What an extraordinary opening ceremony. And I am joined by the glorious Azael and Chronicler to bring you this final, and we are already into Champions Select. Gentlemen, you're not even able to say hello. Let's go through these bands.
Hello, let's get into it. I have got chills all over my entire body after that opening.
I know.
Just incredible, incredible stuff. But this is going to be so exciting. Game one, Weibo have selected blue side, and we have to see what they can get done with it. T1 absolutely a terror on red side throughout this event.
And one of the big questions coming in was, what is Weibo's plan going to be in game number one? Seeing that they are the underdogs, we have our answer. 100% FLICKR's playing a different champion this time around.
This was such a discussion point of would mid lane be that focus? Maokai left available, but you have to know Rel is available for Oner, and he has been stellar on it. There's a lot of options here. Bot lane focus could be big as well, and they're going to do it right away.
And this is the thing, the Kalista has been such incredible priority. It was something actually used against T1 in the JDG series, and I think Renata Glasc is the most important champion for this series as a whole. Crisp, incredible on the champion. Keria, of course, debuting it in their very first game in the Swiss stage at Worlds. So this is very, very important, especially to see what the rest of Weibo's plan is.
And not only does it deny Crisp, we've also seen Keria himself be extremely successful on this. Keria Renata, Renata, Kalista rather, incredibly hard to deal with. It will be TheShy going back to the Aatrox, which has been the main blind pick, but Zeus immediately in game one pulls out his YONE. Also Xiaohu will be playing the Jayce, meaning we get that Maokai Jayce combo that has terrorized the Rift all year.
Yeah, this is going to be incredibly exciting. Getting the YONE here, game one in the finals. T1 getting spicy already.
And now is it actually the YONE for Zeus? That's
could
the question.
be FLICKR.
Because FLICKR has played, I believe he celebrated his 70th unique champion this year. People have been talking about FLICKR's champion pool. It's a really interesting topic, right? Because we don't know how much he's been practicing recently, but I think he's played the most champions professionally out of any other person on the planet.
Exactly. I mean, this guy is the consummate professional. He's such a grinder. He's been back from his injury quite some time, so you have to give him that respect that he can play everything. It is going to be such a focus down towards bot lane, though, now, as T1 are the ones blinding their bot lane. They're going to be banning away the Varus, the Ashe, two of those really highly prized picks. Crisp has been playing more of the enchanters, though. He's moved towards things like Lux and Heimer when Renata was gone, so I'm going to be interested to see where he actually takes us.
I'm also really big fan of the bans here from Weibo, because we now have, I think, Oner's best champions all gone. The Rel and the J4 are at the front, but his Sejuani also was quite strong, and taking that away might put Oner in a tough situation, and he has been the player that improved so much throughout, or rather from summer to the World Championship. Putting him in a difficult position. Could be a big win, as it is the Ahri for FLICKR.
So FLICKR's Ahri coming out, and that does immediately make you think, could it be a Vi as that last pick? You know, the Vi-Ahri pairing has been so popular throughout the year. There's also an angle to play like a Poppy or something like that if we get more dash-style champions coming out from Weibo. But it's going to be Senna TK just trying to neutralize this bottom lane here. And we'll see how well that's going to do.
Yeah, this is something that a lot of people have been talking about as well. The fact that Light and Crisp can go back to this style, we've seen already that they can play it to great effect. We'll see what the answer is going to be, though. Hard engage into the Tahm Kench is something that can be a little bit difficult if it is single target. So maybe not the Vi here, and maybe it could be the Poppy for Oner. We'll see where he decides to go.
I feel like Wukong could actually be a pretty good answer.
Oh,
Lee Sin!
Okay. All right. Well, that is definitely a choice you can make in game number one. Of course, this is Oner's most famous champion by a country mile.
And something that for T1 was a really big surprise for me was that when you look at the way that they beat JDG, it wasn't just with these style of comps. They actually opted into more team fighting. This time around, though, this comp needs to win in the early game. FLICKR and Oner, Guma and Keria, they need to start stacking dragons. They need to get ahead early, because if you get to the mid to late game, look at the front to back on Weibo, right? This is a composition that's really hard to engage into, and if T1 ever lose map control, trying to get onto Maokai, trying to take down individual targets against the Kench is going to be extremely difficult.
And when you're second to those objectives with Maokai saplings in every brush, you're going to be getting poked out by the Jayce, which could be difficult, but both teams lacking a little bit as far as the hard engage goes, but T1 does have the ability to pick people off, you know, with the Lee Sin, with the Yone, with the Ahri. They want to be moving around the map. They want to be pushing out lanes, catching people in transitions, taking these skirmishes as often as they can, and we are just moments away from getting onto the Rift.
Exactly. Game number one is upon us. Of course, T1, a lot of finesse possibilities with a composition like this, but I look at Weibo's draft, and I think we've seen these styles of draft so many times in the past, staying tried and true as we head onto the Rift for our very first game. T1 coming out swinging, and Weibo, I think, ready to pick up that punch. See exactly how it is going to go. Worlds 2023, game number one. Let's do it.
And already, I've got to point out, it's triple TP for Weibo. Crisp is going to be taking the TP on that Tahm Kench, so feeling that they can't necessarily get pressured heavily enough to actually get killed. If he feels he's going to get chunked out, hey, you TP back early. You know, you keep up that farm as much as you possibly can, but it's going to give you the advantage in playing that map because they will have that extra teleport come mid and late game.
Another thing here is, what is the level 1 going to be? I think that one of the other really underrated parts of the Senna Kench is how strong their level 1 is.
Exactly right, but just a reminder to connect your League of Legends account with Prime Gaming to grab the exclusive Braum W emote. And if you haven't done it already, my goodness, I mean, just do it. Just do it now. That'll be fantastic.
It's a really good emote.
Yeah.
And you saw there as well, no opportunity, unfortunately, for Weibo to use it, at least for now, although Late Invade might come through. But I do think that the level 1 of Weibo is so strong, and they're clearly expecting this. So T1, I think, very smart not to opt into this and take the risk in game 1 of the finals.
And they were pretty good at utilizing Tahm Kench in that level 1 play, if we remember back to it as well. So certainly no shenanigans this time around. And I think in a game number 1, that is a good idea. FLICKR on his 4th unique champion here for Worlds in game number 1 of the final. But of course, Ahri is one that he's been famous for many years.
And I think there's going to be so many eyes on the mid lane because Xiaohu has not been performing to the level that people were hoping for from him. You know, he hasn't been having that incredible tournament, but now here in his first ever World Finals, he's got to step up if it's going to be Weibo win.
Exactly. Well, Piercing Darkness coming through there from Light. Not too much, just a little bit of a tussle, a little bit of checking each other on the bottom side of the map. As FLICKR now trying to push forward, Xiaohu just having an okay time here as the Jayce into the Ahri.
And we'll see if we're going to see, and rather where we're going to see the early jungle attention. Because I think for T1, obviously, self-explanatory, Dragons and Heralds are incredibly important to pick up early. But there is an opportunity to try and go for these aggressive plays. I think Weiwei in particular has been really good about consistently finding bot line angles. Although he is currently pathing towards bot. We'll see how T1 can cover for Zeus because he is already shoving in. And if you can get an early kill on the Yone, it can really send him behind.
Well, and Oner's going to use this to invade, right? He's going to win this duel against Weiwei, so he's just going to try to get right in his face, push him out. He knows he has that pushing top lane, and we'll see how this fight does go.
Yeah, nice little sidestep there to avoid the Sonic Wave. Weiwei just making sure that he can keep that health bar high. Has actually popped a potion there as well. Gets the sapling in the brush. Oner's just looking to try and wreak havoc.
But look at Zeus. Zeus is already moving down. That's why he starts the camp now, because Zeus got the push in. He's going to come down, so Weiwei's going to have to back off. He could look for the 50-50, but he risks putting himself in danger. So it should be Oner grabbing the Wolf, and they can continue this pressure on. You can look towards mid now, as Xiaohu's in trouble.
Yeah, Oner immediately moves over. There's the flash. A Q's going to land from Oner, but he decides to not go in under the inner turret, and Xiaohu looks to try and fire back.
This is just great stuff early on here from T1. Oner, 3 camps top, moves into the enemy jungle to cover Zeus on the push, then uses Zeus' pressure to move down, steal the Wolves, rotates over towards mid where FLICKR has that, now into a bot side scuttle. This is really clean, really well pre-planned play here from T1.
And I'm going to be looking towards how are the junglers able to punish the lack of flashes.
W as FLICKR gets the charm. He stomps it to the skies, but I don't think it's going to be enough because his flash is already down. And first blood goes to Xiaohu.
And I haven't even finished my sentence, or Weiwei does that exact thing. Punishes FLICKR for being that far up in the lane, and all they gave up for it was a wolf camp.
And we said Xiaohu had to have a good series, had to have a good game, and what better start than a first blood on the Spring King from the LPL in his first World Finals.
And you mentioned it already, Chronicler. Xiaohu is a guy that's had a lot of attention from a lot of fans and already starting to silence some of those doubts. But it is very, very early days in this one as we check out the replay. Really good pathing here from Weiwei.
Yeah, this is just great from Weiwei. It just wraps around, you know, did skip that topside scuttle, and I think FLICKR potentially thought he was actually over on it. Just comes right down, pass immediately there, is not going to be able to get out as FLICKR committed the flash for that trade earlier on Xiaohu.
And if you think back to the spring final, or summer finals rather, that T1 wasn't able to win, it was in large part because Gen.G identified if you get FLICKR off of some of his comfort champions and you put him down early by a lot of repeated jungle attention, it can be a viable way to get an early to mid-game lead against T1. And we've seen that they can struggle in that situation. And particularly with draft like this, you need to win. You can't try and kind of go through the middle, you know, maybe pick up a dragon or two. No, you need to be able to dominate from the get-go.
And Ahri Pre-6 is one of those champions that you really can take advantage of. You know, that is why Azir was so key for T1 in their playoff run. And Weiwei, it's interesting to note that it was that first gank in towards mid. You know, he has been so heavily prioritizing these bot side ganks throughout Worlds. In the LPL, it was much more about playing towards TheShy, but at Worlds, it has been about playing towards Crisp, playing towards Light. And I really wanted to see what his game plan was going to be coming into Worlds, because clearly T1 would be prepped for that.
Well, Oner going to clear out some vision. As you can see, control ward in the Drake pit. First one going to be a Chemtech Drake. And Oner is going to very happily join Keria as they look to take this one down. So at about 6 minutes into the game, we will have our very first dragon. FLICKR coming on over, not going to be able to steal anything away, just getting some information here for T1. So they will be able to secure this dragon. So that is one of the steps that they have taken here. Still, they're going to need those big advantages like you guys were talking about in order to make this one work. Looking here towards the bottom side, Gumayusi has a huge advantage over the Tahm Kench, but something that you would expect. It's not necessarily a lane you can really judge on CS.
I mean, you can see it in both top and bot lane, though. You know, these CS differences, obviously, is the Tahm Kench versus that Kalista, not comparing it with the Senna. But both top and bot, significant CS advantages already here for T1. Mid, slightly favored towards FLICKR despite the death. they are out-farming their opponents, and that's why they're still up this slight amount of gold despite giving up that first blood.
And this is something Weibo was also able to do. TheShy specifically against Bin was able to use the fact that the matchup was isolated to push really heavily for big CS leads and then take those leads into mid-game fights and carry them.
And when we talk about comps that are relying on these early game advantages, one of the ways you can do it is just by stacking dragons. You're playing Kalista, you're going to have bot side pressure. Even if you can't establish a massive gold lead, if you take these early dragons and put the pressure of that soul on your opponents, you circumvent a lot of the weaknesses in hard engage that your composition has. You draw your opponents to you, you force them to challenge you at these dragons where you are going to be set up for that fight, where you are going to be in the advantage.
Well, right now, it is just a bit of trading in lanes. Weiwei going to go home, collect himself a book and a control ward, try to get back to it as Crisp, the tongue lash. It hurts a whole lot more, I feel like, when you've got him sitting in a lane by himself for quite some time, but he's actually still just level 5, same as everybody else. And Gumayusi still playing aggressively, not able to land too many of these pierces as Zeus's soul is relatively unbound as he just keeps shoving these waves relentlessly into TheShy's turret. First plate has gone down already here for T1, like you were mentioning, Azale playing into the advantages in gold that is now ticked up to about 500.
And my expectation is that T1 is going to use this top lane prio to secure Herald without too much difficulty. FLICKR almost will have his flash available. Xiaohu already has his. But with this Aatrox being perma pushed in, it should make the setup for T1 around this objective pretty easy. And they have also already rotated over Gumayusi and Keria. So they're going to secure this. Then my question becomes, where are they going to throw it down? Because the two obvious solutions to me would be either Zeus or Guma. Obviously, Guma already massively far ahead, but a YONE in a side lane, I think is one of the biggest things that Weibo might not be able to answer.
I agree completely. I think it should go towards Zeus. He already has the push. This is one of these hyper-scaling top laners that he already has the early push. You can harass those towers, harass the Aatrox with the Soul Unbound, and you get him that big gold lead. This guy can make miracles happen in a 5v5. Zeus has been simply incredible throughout the World Championship.
Certainly has. And now FLICKR is going to dash in, finds the charm under the Tom Kench. FLICKR has to get out of there, though. Can't be a snare for the hostile takeover. Gets so much work done. The Devour's in, but the kill's there for Oner. Xiaohu now going down low as FLICKR dashes forward once again. But it looks like they'll have to settle for one and a Herald.
And Weibo, they see that T1 is at the Herald. They rotate over, and I think they try to recuperate. But that's sunken cost fallacy because they just walk up. T1 finds the angle, and Weibo give up the Herald and a kill.
Exactly, and maybe going to lose some farm down on bot side as well, because Chris has no TP, but Zeus.
Nature's Grasp comes in, he gets pulled back, he's interrupted from the ultimate. Zeus does get a knock up there and a shield, but I think he's still dead. And there it is, the answering kill from TheShy.
Weibo able to punch back on the top side. You can see Oner hanging around that bottom side, potentially threatening, as Guma and Keria are going to push it in. Already have taken a plate themselves down there, but great kill back on the top side. Does help to equalize the gold there for TheShy.
Yeah, gold now actually completely fine. TheShy might even be able to pick up plate as well. And crucially, Zeus doesn't have TP, so actually is going to lose out on this wave. Unlike FLICKR when he was ganked earlier, could just TP back to the lane. Not going to be the case here. And that's the second time that Weibo, the initial play might not work, but Weiwei pulls it back.
Exactly. And Zeus just couldn't use that ultimate quite fast enough, you know, so Weiwei was able to get ahead of him, blocks the ulti, and then from that point, Zeus says, you know what, I'm dead either way, so I'm going to hold on to the flash, but that is an unfortunate death for him as he had so much pressure on top side, so much tempo, and a lot of that is going to be lost now, but not lost in the mid lane where FLICKR has continued to push in, continued this relentless aggression here despite being that first death.
Yep. Even though he did fall down first up, FLICKR is pretty good at bouncing back from initial deaths. The global taunt that he's had for the last 10 years seems to be the thing.
The most ganked man of all time.
I think it's probably true, but also he's played like the most games out of anyone else that still plays currently. So it's a weird stat to go towards. Bottom side of the map, we do see a reset coming through here for Gumayusi and Keria. Not quite towards the first item yet for the Kalista, which would be pretty important for the next fight coming up. We'll see what they can get for themselves.
Yeah, you see as well already, Weibo is moving up. The second Drake, I think, is really pivotal. There are a lot of good Drakes still available for T1. No Chemtech Dragon in particular.
We know exactly what Drake it's going to be. It's T1.
It's Cloud.
It's got to be the Cloud. They've got the most Clouds out of any other team at Worlds.
You don't want him to have Cloud Soul, particularly not with the amount of mobility on the team. So I think that Weibo is going to try and contest there. But T1 still are the ones with control of their pot side. Prio is now being found by Light and Crisp. Herald being placed down just in mid lane to try and pressure Weibo out. and get a quick move into the river.
It's going to mean that that dragon should belong to T1 if they can get control with it. FLICKR sticking around for the cash. They will be able to gather it here. Orbit Deception going to go wide, and it looks like FLICKR's not going to stick around for another plate. As Weiwei going for a reset, they're going to give up the second Drake as well.
Yeah, I think there's just no real angle for them to contest from this point. Oner drops the Herald mid, they get Prio there, they reestablish Prio down on that bot side, move up through the river. And with Keria and Guma at such a strong point early on in the game, it is going to be Cloud Soul.
Yeah, it's not a question mark. I did tell you. I informed you. I didn't pose a question.
Well, Atlas, I always want to believe that you're right about dragons. And in case of clouds, I gotta say, you often are.
Yeah. And do you know who was actually the one that told me that my love of clouds was actually okay? It was Azael. As Crisp is taking some damage here towards the bottom side. It's all right.
I've always been a cloud believer.
Yeah.
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 Move speed turns out pretty good.
Uh-huh. It's a pretty good stat. And Zeus not going to... he's actually going to utilize some move speed to move out of the Infernal Chains. Look at
nice
that.
Transition.
Proving your point immediately, Azael. You love to see it. Oner is here, though. It's going to be a 2v2. Zeus taking a bit of damage as the Q comes down. There's the ulti. Nature's Grasp, but look at the knockups, the kickback. Weiwei punches him out of it. Oh! Dawning Shadow flying through to help get the kill onto Zeus. It looked good for T1, and Weibo struck back.
And Light saves the play. T1 make the call before Zeus has back to all-in on specifically the Maokai. Just finished his demonic embrace. Weiwei is able to stay alive. Light keeps him there, and a big win for Weibo.
They thought they could punish the missing flash that had been spent as Keria looking for an angle, won't find it. They wanted to be able to burst him down. FLICKR.
Yeah,
maybe
has come through. Foxfire coming down, but they do have to invest the ultimate. FLICKR now not going to have that for the next play, and that's what Xiaohu wanted.
We'll have to see now. TheShy getting more and more ahead now in that top lane. You know, has taken a couple plays, does have the kill and the assist. Score Drinker completed, tier 2 boots done. Zeus with that big farm lead is still keeping things relatively even, but both those scraps on the top side have gone Weibo's way.
And again, Weiwei to me has been the crucial factor here. 100% kill participation thus far, able to make sure that T1 doesn't get that momentum. Now, I don't think that T1, particularly with the dragon stacking, is necessarily in grave danger, but this means that the gold stays on parity, that Weibo still gets to scale into that mid to late game, where it can be incredibly impressive to enter as TheShy might be getting ganked.
Yeah, Keria is going to move on up here as Zeus is going to break those chains. Keria is looking for that handshake angle as already TheShy's done a fair bit of damage, but I don't think it is going to be enough as it's Weibo Gaming for TheShy, and he will go down. Oner grabs that kill.
Oner, nice kill on the top side. If 2 doesn't work, bring 3. Bring another guy. Keria on the roam up towards top side. Wasn't really expected, I think, to be up there. TheShy thought he was going to be safe, but now dying there with no TP does mean there's going to be a pretty big push. You can see Guma. Of course, you have to compare that with Crisp's goal.
Oh, brings him back in with a twisted advance, the kickback as well as Weiwei gets out the punch, and now Xiaohu coming on in. Oner's going to burn down, and no bailout for you. Light's in a bit of trouble, but the charm is not going to get it done because Crisp is there with the denial with the devour, and T1 have to run away. What a play from Weibo.
And continuously, they are getting out skirmished. Weiwei should be able to get the execute here. So nothing given up. And Weibo walk away victorious again.
Weiwei has just had such an incredible journey as a player. You know, this guy first starting on V5, came in with them, played with BLG, and since joining, Weibo has made such a difference with this team, has really transformed the team, has such good pressure in the early stages, and him getting going early always spells good things for this team.
Certainly does. Let's have a look at the play one more time.
And as we look here, initially it looks like T1 wants to back off, but Weiwei goes very far back, but then crucially barely stays alive, right? And with him getting away, there is no bailout value for Oner, and the fact that FLICKR TP's in doesn't matter because Crisp is standing at the ready with Devour.
Yeah, Crisp is there, and Light with some nice little side steps. Don't think the charm would have mattered even if it landed because Crisp was right behind him, but well played on the sidestep nonetheless. T1, though, continually going towards these objectives. They know they need to keep pushing the pace, and Weibo here looking to challenge.
And nice Shock Blast is going to soften up T1 just a little bit here. 4 versus 3 in this moment, but FLICKR's wrapping around from the top side of the fight. TheShy pretty far away from this one. And Zeus is moving in, gets over the wall. There's the ult. It's going to be dodged as he gets himself out of there with the Unbound Soul. And T1, they are going to be able to secure the Herald.
Forces the flash from Light, and they get the Herald. Really nicely done from T1. That is what has been going their way all game long.
And now I'm wondering, can T1 also get themselves to this Dragon in time? I think they just have enough time to still get the backs in. in, make their way, spend their money, and then try and set up this soul point very early on. Because while when it comes to gold, Weibo has been able to stay very relevant, if T1 pick this up, they will have gotten every single objective thus far, and it will at the very least force Weibo to maybe make some tough decisions once Zeus in the sideline becomes hard to deal with, because I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up going for Hullbreaker again.
And this is such an early soul point that they will be moving to. Their third dragon here taken, if they can get it, around 17 and a half minutes into the game. You know, threatening that 22, 23 minute soul would be a really tough spot here for Weibo. So they have to get mid lane control. They have to be able to push this out, then move into the river. They want to be first to the scene. You can see Weiwei trying to keep these saplings down and harass T1 as they try to move in. But in the bot lane, it's Zeus with the push there. And if he can get Prio down on that bot side, they can potentially set up a flank from multiple angles.
Yep, Oner should be able to put the Herald down here as well to help them get that mid control, get towards that dragon. But you can see Weibo don't want to give up the river right now. Weiwei just standing stalwart. TheShy is going to turn up. Charm is going to connect, but FLICKR probably not wanting to go in on that one. Q going to connect from Oner, and T1 just keeping up this pressure, allowing Weibo to move into that river, knowing they have Zeus very close to that bottom wave to keep pressure in the lane.
Exactly. Zeus threatened moving up. He went, just did the gromp. Now he's down back towards that bottom lane, pushing that out. So forcing the response from TheShy. T1 are happy in this stalemate position right now. They still have the Herald to work with, so if Weibo overcommit towards the Dragon, they can just drop Herald mid and guarantee that tier 1.
Keria is going to miss the handshake, but the Q's going to land from Oner. Weiwei could avoid it with the twisted advance. Oner not going to go in as the Everfrost, it gets the Devour. Gumayusi getting himself out of there and utilizing his ultimate to save Keria as well, but that is so many cooldowns, and now Weibo have started up the Drake.
Weibo might be looking to go for it. They've also used a number of cooldowns themselves, most notably TheShy and Weiwei's ultimate. We'll see if T1 tries to go for an alternative play, just push mid, but it looks like Weibo isn't even going to give them the opportunity as Oner!
Oh, there's the kick flash! Xiaohu's going to be pushed into FLICKR the flash forward, but the charm is going to miss! What? The pierce doesn't land, and Xiaohu just walks it up! No worries there at all as Crisp is under the turret. They throw down Herald, but Zeus has found two with the ultimate life. Goes down so low, but isn't going to survive. Weiwei trying to get himself out of there, and TheShy is given up on. Weiwei running the wrong direction, but they at least get the dragon.
Weibo get the dragon, but T1 get the kill. Xiaohu lucky to get out of that one, but Weiwei, he's going home in the body bag.
That is the final kill there from Oner. And that is the first fight that T1 have won, but they've lost that dragon stacking that you were talking about earlier, Chronicler. And so we'll see whether they can grab that next one and keep this level of pressure up, because 2.3 thousand gold, is that enough of a lead for this early game composition?
And there is a reason why Oner's lead has been feared. And the funniest part to me is this play doesn't even matter, because Xiaohu actually is able to walk it up. Another miraculous survival. FLICKR doesn't get the chase because of Crisp, but then it's Zeus who got put down in lane that makes the hero play.
Exactly, comes in on the other side. There's no Devour because Crisp was over saving his mid laner, trying to defend there, so Light is left vulnerable, and Light is punished big time. T1 getting that major gold injection in, and you can see a lot of these towers that they've been pressing. If you look on live, FLICKR taking down that top tier 1, a lot of these turrets have been getting lower and lower from this T1 lane dominance.
Yeah, you can see there's a lot of relief on Tom's face there as well. Hoping that T1 can get this mid-game sorted out. Oner stealing away some Raptors. Full vision given over to Weibo. 3.5 minutes on the clock when it comes to the Drake, as in goes Zeus. Xiaohu just boops him away, and Oner is going to come through as well. Xiaohu in still a lot of trouble. Safeguard comes in. Xiaohu moving away from the Lee Sin to the skies, comes down. The Devourer is there. It was Crisp coming forward, and he saves his mid laner, but that is a lot invested.
That's the problem, is that even though Xiaohu makes it out alive, Crisp uses TP, and they're not even going to be able to save the turret. So even though Zeus isn't able to actually clip Xiaohu, he sidesteps the ultimate, it's still a big win, and the Hullbreaker is in fact done, and it makes him such a menace in the side lane.
Exactly, it's incredibly difficult to deal with him. They become incredibly tanky, and one of the most underrated parts about this is how tanky it actually makes the cannon minions. They become very difficult to actually wave clear out. It allows you to harass your opponent, but Guma
could be in a bit of trouble here as Crisp looks for it. The immediate cleanse does get out of the way. Nature's Grasp isn't going to connect, but there is the twisted advance. Hostile takeover across everyone, though, but TheShy is just gigantic. Guma trying to hop away. The Fates call the knockups, and meanwhile, Weiwei is going down. FLICKR collects it before falling down. Crisp has to go, though, because he's so incredibly low, and Zeus is tearing them to shreds. won that team fight even better than the last.
Guma refuses to go down. Keria saves him, coming in with the hostile takeover at T1. They're on the Baron.
And it's Renata that does it again. Keria standing at the ready, keeps Guma alive throughout all of it. And T1, the goal before this was even Weibo picked up the dragon, but after this fight, multiple kills going over the T1. Baron secured. And it looks like the first grade might have been broken open. The early game comp getting it done.
And here is the replay. We'll see how it all started. It looked like a pick onto Gumayusi.
It did, but it just took them so long to actually get to him. You can see everyone from T1 is coming as fast as they possibly can. And all the time that was bought here by Guma allows them to arrive, allows the hostile takeover here, hitting across multiple members. Light is forced to even flash out, just trying to avoid it, but Oner knocks him down. Guma dances out, using that ultimate with Keria's help to peel him off.
And we're seeing one of the big issues with the Senna is that if you're playing a front to back, Senna feels almost impossible to deal with. Particularly with Kench, it's really hard to take people down, to get through the front line. The kite deck's amazing, but if you get caught, particularly by something like a Lee, you don't get to play the game.
And also, they weren't playing front-to-back League of Legends. It was a split fight entirely, with the fact that TheShy goes in, is in the middle, and it felt fantastic, right? It was a bit of a split there from Weibo with their decision-making moving forward. It could mean that they could adjust that moving into the next team fight and really show what this composition can do.
And the tough thing for Weibo is it felt like so many things did go well for them in the early stages. Those skirmishes were working for them, but when T1 hit way harder. And they have gotten so much out of these last couple plays. They're going to try to take a tier 1 top, but FLICKR's looking for an engaged bot.
Yeah, looking for even more. Everfrost is going to land. Somehow that charm didn't connect, but it is still going to gather a devour from over the wall from Crisp. T1 will settle for this inner turret.
And this is where the earlier Drake from Weibo is going to feel like a miracle in the sky. Right? If they didn't have that, would be just a soul point in addition to all the turrets that are there for T1. Now, sure, they're not going to have the soul. You still have 5 minutes of time. It's not looking great, but at the very least, they'll have one more opportunity to try and get something going. My main issue is, particularly with Zeus now completely back in the game and sitting on a pretty ludicrous gold advantage, 3K in the sideline is going to be untouched.
I mean, even in the team fight, he just finished an IE. He's got 3 full items now. TheShy just finishes Derek's second. And when you have the IE in, you can talk about not wanting team fight with a Hullbreaker, but when you've got an IE and a Kraken, you can one-hit the backline. This becomes incredibly hard to actually fight against this guy. So if T1 can execute on those 5v5s, as they have been doing all tournament long, we saw it showcased against JDG, against the world's best in that 5v5 stage, then it's going to be tough for Weibo. Look at Keria.
Yeah, Zeus dancing forward, but like you say, Keria lurking in the sidelines. Weibo just trying to deal with these minion waves, not wanting to give up more than they can afford to lose. T1 just going to gather themselves a little bit of extra standing gold in a turret. Not exactly the end of the world, but it's all just more money here for the coffers of T1. These shock blasts starting to land a little bit. Lands onto FLICKR there, but they're going to need more of those if they want to stop the pressure.
The shock blasts do hurt, but T1 is just playing so intelligently around this. They drop that pink ward mid. Zeus playing very far back because no one's answering top. You know, as T1, the only recourse in this game Weibo have is to overload one side of the map, get a 3v1, get a 2v1, get a pick kill, then attack the rest of the T1 squad. So until they show top, there's no reason for Zeus to walk up. He just plays it so far back, plays it calm, cool, and collected, and allows his team to get those incremental advantages up in top lane.
And this has now turned into an 8,000 gold lead. The Rebel Baron power play just kind of gigantic, given the fact that it was relatively close for a lot of this game. It's how T1 do really like to break open games, especially in the past when they were at their most dominant. Definitely a good sign if you are a T1 fan. And Weibo well and truly on the ropes here at this stage of the game.
And for Weibo now, you're going to either have to have someone on T1 overextend, like you were saying, Azil. I do think it has to be someone else, because killing Zeus when he has Flash, Hullbreaker, and IE is going to be such an incredibly difficult task. But then look at what the rest of T1 is doing. No one is actually segmenting themselves off from the rest. They're always working in tandem.
Exactly. You know you win the 4v4 and you win the 1v1, so as long as you have eyes on Weibo, you are chilling. You just have to make sure you're not getting poked out too heavily.
It's going to be up to Xiaohu. FLICKR waiting over the wall, wants to land that charm to start this fight potentially, but no. Weibo just back away, not wanting to take a fight unless it is far more within their favor and with more information. And that is a very difficult thing to gather here in this game. You talk about saplings, things like that, all these opportunities. If you can't walk out of your base, they don't do a whole lot of good.
It does get very difficult. At the very least, you can use that to clear out brushes, to move forward, try to reclaim some vision, as they're going to do now. Knowing that T1 is on the reset, they will try to deny some of this vision, but the death cap is going to be here soon for FLICKR. You can see Wit's End going to be pretty soon as well for Guma. These third items are going to be coming through when the GA comes in for Oner as well. T1 are just trying to get as prepared as possible for the Soul or for this Baron, where they are really going to look to dominate.
And really nicely done, shown by our observers here, is how little Weibo know. Well, obviously they have a suspicion that T1 is going to be somewhere in the jungle and they can scout with saplings, but actually retaking control becomes incredibly difficult. And right now, it's still fine, but in 40 seconds, the Baron is coming up and Weibo will be faced with one of two choices. Either you just try to hard force your way in and like flash engage with Weiwei onto someone of T1, but if they don't give you that opportunity, you're gonna have to try and fight up a straight fight.
And one of the biggest problems with that is when you're approaching Baron from blue side, you're setting up for a perfect Keria ultimate, right? You know, you all try to flash in, try to go for that engage. If you're trying to follow up on Weiwei's play, there's gonna be a hostile takeover coming through your entire team, so the difficulty is extremely high for Weibo from this position.
Also really difficult to lock down Zeus is if he's only trading with that Unbound Soul available. You can see Xiaohu comes down. That gives T1 the idea that there are two invested towards that bottom side. That pressure from Zeus pretty clearly illustrated in that moment.
And look at the item spikes. Wits End done for Guma. No death cap for FLICKR. GA for Oner. And on Weibo's side, 2 item power spikes have been hit, but don't know if that's going to be enough. Xiaohu, though, does have his Cyrildas done. Maybe that can give them the poke they need to contest this Baron, but it looks like it just isn't sticking.
I mean, it feels like it's just basically all up to Xiaohu from this position. He needs to be able to hit Shock Blast on key members that can't heal them up, which is basically just FLICKR.
Yeah, Oner going aggressive. There's the kick flash once again. Weiwei's going to flash to his advance to get himself back. There's the Nature's Grasp as well, as Oner's going to have to get out of there. Safeguard is enough of a shield. The Dawning Shadow not quite there with the damage. And T1, they tried something. They're not going to get any kills, but they get the flash from the jungler.
And T1 don't even have to give up Oner's GA, right? He could play that aggressive knowing that he still has his GA available as, oh, he might have a flank here.
Oh, Keria. Okay, looking for that angle as Xiaohu.
I think they might know.
Going to face check.
How
they
know?
Just saw him pop out of the brush. Not quite sneaky enough. The Shock Blast comes in eventually, but that is going to put enough fear into Weibo. And Zeus, yeah, like 3 hitting this Cloud Drake. Yeah.
I mean, he is just going to kill that thing so fast. They're going to start Baron at the same time. They're just going to start it up. I think at this point, T1 feel that they can do everything at once. And Weibo, you've got to make a stand now. There's just no way from this position you can give up a free Baron.
Well, Weiwei is in the vicinity, but the rest of the team is still making their way over. TheShy does have teleport, but they have no information. They have no vision. This Baron is gone.
You just can't walk up. There's not really anything you can do.
Yeah, looking for the angle. It's not exactly behind Xiaohu, but he's pretty fast. As Xiaohu's going to avoid the charm for now. Shock Blast connects onto FLICKR there as well. He's still going to look for that reset angle, and now with the Baron buff in tow, T1 feel like they don't need a reset to try and break open the base of Weibo here in Game 1 of the finals. Nature's Grasp flying forward. Oner still has that GA, remember. Chris going down so incredibly low. Zeus just executes TheShy up to the side, and there is another one. This guy's YONE is just absurd. And the inhibitor's going to go down. Weiwei is burning there as well, as now Xiaohu tries to be the hero, but it does not work out, and I think T1 are just going to end Game 1 here.
And the early game, T1 not able to get a bunch of crucial kills, but they don't let it phase them. They are able to find the one skirmish they're looking for, take the Baron, and from that point on, Weibo doesn't get to fight back.
And now 1-0 here in the World Final. T1 on the red side as well, going to be able to walk away victorious. It was an early game composition and it was executed very well, but I felt like there were angles for Weibo to go back and try and retcon and figure it out for Game 2.
I mean, it's tough, right? Weibo did win out in a lot of those early game skirmishes. They were getting the kills, but T1 played an immaculate objective game. And let's face it, they were winning in isolation all 3 lanes, and that is such a problem. Even though Weiwei was making these ganks happen and they were getting some kills, it always felt like it was T1 with the push in the lanes, with the turret plates that they're taking, with every single objective.
And I thought the game might have stabilized to the point where Weibo could go and try and get to that late game. But then the moment that that fight in the T1 jungle happened, when they tried to collapse on Guma, they just didn't seemingly have the tools. And I think that outside of Weiwei, it is actually hard to lock down a target and that turned into the Baron, and from that point the game was done.
And I have to give so much credit to Zeus in this game. Was incredible in the isolated 1v1. Yes, he fell down to a couple ganks, but coming back from that position, he was a monster in the team fights.
Not to mention the fact that he was still up in CS even after getting caught in a few of these ganks as well. But a pretty exciting game number 1. It is time to throw it over to the post-match and see what the desk had to say about that first game.
Well, thank you so much, Atlas. I will agree with you, and I think we all will, in terms of how exciting the beginning of that game was, how back and forth, and to me, how T1 very often tried to get that kill, but Weibo was sharper in the beginning. I mean, a great start to the series overall, but what were the biggest takeaways, maybe the biggest surprises straight off the bat in game 1 that you had not expected?
I mean, I kind of want to start with draft because we were like, are we going to attack the mid lane pool? I feel like people had cited that Gen G did so in their finals against T1. We saw the Nico and Ori bans coming out of T1 and then the Azir Sylas bans coming out of Weibo right off the bat in this draft. I actually thought this draft from Weibo was a really good answer to what T1 liked to do in the game. And even with the Senna TK locked in, it kind of set back, like they couldn't do the same really aggressive level 1s that they want to do around some of these pushing bot lanes. So I thought it was a pretty smart draft coming out of Weibo.
Yeah, and I actually am kind of surprised by what T1 opted in for here. One of the things that T1 have been very good about is just handshaking the Orianna with his Hail of Blades Azir, and it's worked out very well for them, where they're able to take down the Orianna, and Azir has been a fantastic pick for FLICKR. So I'm kind of surprised to see them opt into both the Ori and the Nico ban, trying to target Xiaohu, because it only pushed him onto what has been his comfort. AD champions have looked fantastic for Xiaohu over the course of summer, and he actually looked really good in this game, even if he couldn't get it across the finish line.
He did, right? And we were talking so much about how that would be a huge win con for Weibo. In the top lane, though, you called it. You want to take your page out again?
Is the Zeus the counter pick that he has already shown into the Aatrox? Yeah, I feel like a lot of risks were taken by Weibo in this, playing the denial bottom lane, giving T1 what they want, the Kalista Renata to play, and then allowing the counter pick that Zeus already showed, and the impact that he had with this YONE, the ability to carry here, the dragon fight towards the bottom, then towards the late game. Don't even have to say. But it was massive when we talk about quality over quantity for them. But I have to say, if you're talking about biggest thing takeaway, and we're looking at some of the early plays here. Oner's Lee Sin got locked in. He's like, he was 45 and 10 before this. Now he's 46 and 10 on it. But my goodness, Oner has just been so good this tournament.
He has, and especially Lee Sin is such a confidence pick, right? That you want to go off on.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about, like, in T1's draft, right? This is a draft that I think a lot of people, especially in spring, would criticize them for a little bit, just because it is like, we are better than you mechanically. Like, Oner is so comfortable on this Lee Sin. Zeus is so comfortable on this YONE, and they're like, we can just flat out beat you with these. I did actually think both junglers performed really well in terms of like tracking each other early, responding to each other early. We talked about Weiwei as kind of when Xiaohu has been struggling in this tournament a little bit, it has been Weiwei who's been the most stable player on this Weibo team.
And especially when he got set behind early, get the invade, get this play into mid, but Weiwei responds super well by immediately wrapping around, burning his own flash because he knows that FLICKR's flash is down. And you think at the moment, oh, well, he probably should be going into his top side, trying to go for a scuttle crab, trying to match the fact that some of his camps have already been stolen away, but it's a great response from Weiwei. And again, on this top side, helping out TheShy, just setting up perfectly, even walking in front of the ultimate there from the YONE to prevent Zeus from actually getting away. Weiwei did a really good job of controlling the early game for Weibo and making sure T1 couldn't run away with this.
Phenomenal job indeed. It was interesting because it wasn't that much about the bot lane in the beginning as we anticipated it might be. Weiwei really good at counter-punching whenever Oner pushed early, but I think then when you go into the mid-game and some of these engages, you see where T1 really wants to get it going.
And guess what? You want to see how important these junglers are for their team? 100% kill participation on both
That's pretty good.
sides. I think the big thing I do want to point out in terms of when owners look comfortable, right? Like every jungler, Kobe, you know this, if your lanes are pushing, it feels really good because you just have so many options. And then here, we see this is such a signature pick for Oner, and even though Xiaohu escapes, they talked about on cast how a lot of these fights ended up being split up, so then you have stuff like the YONE that can then just come in and do so well on his own in these split fights.
Yeah, Zeus is able to cut them off, even though they get the dragon with the 3-person engage there. And as you said, they chased everybody else off of the top side of that fight so that they could then collapse, and Oner get to pick up the extra kills here. I mean, it's made even more important because of, like we talked about, how rough Oner's summer was.
Yeah.
He's really been a linchpin for this team, and this game one from T1, you know they like to snowball.
Yeah.
They're going to play these snowball compositions. They get a bunch of these early objectives, but how do you stop them?
It's crazy. Maybe we know in the second game, Weibo is going to stay on the blue side, of course, also what they selected for game one. But it wasn't really a draft issue, was it, Dagda?
No, I don't think it was. I think it was more down to an execution. Now, I think you did have advantages for T when it came to, hey, we do have, as Emily was already pointing out, a bunch of pushing lanes. So, hey, when we come to first Rift Tower, we have the Kalista and the Renata that get pushed. We have the level 6 that hits first because Light is trying to catch some XP from the jungle. So they use that level 6 advantage to get the early Rift Towers and start to get that gold lead kind of ballooning. But it was decisions from Weibo to say, hey, we want to try and commit to that. We want to try and make these fights happen that end up coming back to bite them later on then.
But a very, very good game out of T1 to kick us off here in Seoul at the World Final. And Riot's annual charity voting campaign is going on right now. Each year, the Riot Games Social Impact Fund selects 84 nonprofits that are leading impactful and meaningful work in 28 regions. Through November 30th, players can log in and vote to help direct over $4.5 million in nonprofit grants. Scan the QR code below to place your vote. Each player only gets one vote, so make sure to make it count. We'll be right back with Game 2.
Fake has to get out of there though, can't be snapped, but the hostile takeover gets so much work done, the Devour's in for the kills there. Nature's Grasp comes in, he gets pulled back, he's interrupted from the ultimate. Zeus does get a knock up there and a shield, but I think he's still dead. And there it is, the answering kill from TheShy. No worries there at all as Crisp is under the turret, they throw down Errol, but Zeus has found 2 with the ultimate life. Goes down so low, but isn't going to survive. Weiwei trying to get himself out of there, and TheShy is given up on. Nature's Grasp flying forward. Oner still has that GA. Remember, Chris going down so incredibly low. Zeus just executes TheShy up to the side, and there is another one. This guy's YONE is just absurd.
Something dark clings to me. Has always lived in me. I see destruction and despair. You brought it to light, Jin. Good, evil, the line blurs. I keep spiraling down paths I never thought I'd walk. There is light in me. I can't lose sight of it. And the colors come flooding back. Open your eyes. Every question, every burden, every vision, I'll lay them out here. heart, life, death, all I've seen, all made clear.
When people think about esports, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Players, obviously, but there's so much more.
With the launch of the MasterCard Gamer Academy, we're providing 10 people who are passionate about League of Legends or Valorant and want to pursue a career in esports with the chance to learn what it takes. What it takes to manage a team.
Can we wrap this up? We need to scream.
What it takes to produce content. Cut. Okay, yep. Okay, action. What it takes to write, direct, and produce award-winning content. And of course, what it takes to pull off some of the largest events like the League of Legends World Championship or Valorant Champions. In partnership with MasterCard, we've created a priceless experience. The chance to fly to Seoul, Berlin, and more, and take immersive courses on esports, business, content, and everything in between. Taught by the very best. Think you have what it takes? Here's how to apply.
Bringing in a new roommate to save money, is that the plan?
Say hi to Glenn from work.
Yeah, I think I have a much better plan. We switched to my plan from Verizon.
That is a good plan. Glenn.
Get my plan starting at just $25 when you bring your own phones. Plus, save when you add perks like the Disney Bundle. It's your Verizon.
Red Bull gives you wings. Red Bull gives you wings.
How do we keep holding on? Lights flicker from afar. I'd rather stay in the dark if I'm with you. I don't need the world. Keep me close, safe and sound. More than two is a crown when I'm with you. Time is passing, no snowman ends. I'm finding comfort in hope.